My God, you weren't kidding. That giant bow in the KW5 key is huge. Yeah, either that or I'm a professional liar, because that's my job. Yes. So yeah, the Quickset Super Bump. A lot of you have been asking me about it since the last video. A lot of you have been trying to get it since the last video, buying it from Red Team Tools or trying to make it yourself, which is great. That's the whole idea. As you know, pretty much everything I do, I release on my GitHub, Creative Commons. This key is no exception. So while there's no commercial purposes allowed, if you want to make your own, please feel free. In fact, that's the whole idea of everything I do. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the measurements of these cuts. Let's talk about what blank you can use to make it, because after the last video, there's even a few more obscure quick-set blanks we need to talk about. Yeah, Titan. So, if you want to manufacture one of these, what do? Well, you've seen that I use the KW11 blank. Now, the KW11, or Quickset Titan, has those 6 positions, including the weirdo hidden position. And I like it as a blank, however, for this deep undercut. Because what I will do is I will load this into a machine and tend to just use a standard Quickset series of cuts first, right? Bam, 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 bam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What will that do? Well, that'll drop me down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if it's just a cut right here, even a deep cut, you're going to get a large fang at the end of it. I don't like that. Hence, the 6th position out here, a deep, deep cut. And when I say deep, on your blitz machine or on your punch or anything, I don't take it just to 7. I actually go a hair beyond 7. Almost, you can consider it like 7.1 or 7.2 barely. So that'll get me most of this key, including right up here in this first position, which means, unless I'm using a special jaw or the special anvil, I'm going to have nipped a little bit of my bow right here, of my shoulder. But that's, of course, not what we ultimately wind up doing. Forget about just nipping once on the shoulder. I move it back over a whole other position. Well, depending on how you're doing it, you might be off the charts. You might be gone on your jaw. There's no more room to traverse the carriage over. So now we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regular positions, the tip 6 position, which shouldn't exist on a KW11 blank, and then we came all the way back and did the first Titan nip position, way up here. But that means we've got one more position to do and nowhere to go on our card, right? We've come all the way up to the front, and that's it. We're stuck. What can we do? Well, most HPC machines, most Hudson Lock machines, should also have micrometer cards. If yours don't, you can order them from Hudson now. So Quickset is 15/100ths of an inch between cut centers, right? So if you line this up, you can even give yourself more room in the cutting carriage. Line up any one of your cuts that you've already made with your cutting wheel, and then switch out to your micrometer jaw. Dial your arm over another 15/100ths of an inch, bam, plunge it back into that deep depth. And if you do it right, it should just about eliminate every last bit of the shoulder on the top side of the key. So you've got this smooth arc going right down from the bow. It's like a ski slope. Boom, up into the moguls. That is the formula for a Quickset Super Bump key. So what key blank is best if you're going to try to do this? One thing is for sure, we can't use a standard KW1 blank. It's just simply not long enough, right? You can't get all the blade in there. That's impractical. The KW11 is what I use. Now you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, the KW11, isn't that the same thing as a KW10? They're both the Titan key, right? Well, yes and no. They both have the same key blade, but they definitely don't both have the same bow. What happens if I were to take this Titan and turn it into a Quickset Super Bump? Out of the tip, these keys look to be the same key, right? We've got a nice super bump action all the way back to that undercut. But up here at the shoulder, what happens? Well, we have kind of a weird lip. Now, with the shoulder not quite being one smooth surface all the way up to the bow, like it is on the 11, you can run into some trouble with how the ring will seat. you get these sharp edges up here, and as the bow smashes into the band, right? You have you need the bump band, right? Smash, smash, smash. These harsh edges right up here can start to invade, and you can start to see these weak points. Now, these will happen over time. These bands are ultimately consumable after a huge number of hits. But for this reason, I'm not a huge fan of the KW10 like I am the KW11. Now you might say, aha, wait a minute. Then what about the KW5? We know from the video that it's the same blade. It's the exact same blade all the way on the underside. Couldn't we just cut all of those bumps right up to this part here? Well, yes, you could, but then where would you be? Again, it's the shape of that head. That head is recessed further back. You're going to be left this time with a really low-angled, sharp, crisp point here that's going to dig in to your bump key band. When it smashes up against that, it'll ride up over the top, that sort of thing. For this reason, the KW11 with that classic K bow, that quickset bow, that really is the winner. By the way, little fact for you. I was yesterday years old when I learned this. They call this the K bow as opposed to the S bow, the sanitized bow, right? And you might think to yourself, oh, well, that's, K for quickset. Well, yeah, but they literally mean K, because look at it. Just like the FedEx logo with the hidden arrow. Have you ever seen that on a FedEx truck? As long as you're looking at the passenger side of the truck. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here on the driver's side, the arrow is backwards, of course, and here, well, the arrow is stopped. Yeah, but the quickset K-bow has a little hidden letter K. Who knew? Huh? Well, this direction it does. This way, I guess it means the batter struck out without even swinging on the last pitch. But there is one more quickset key out there, and you all saw it yesterday, right? We saw it on our 6-pin deadbolt lock, and I described this as a KW5, but of course, I wasn't using an official KW5 key, even though that would work. No, this clearly has the classic K bow on it, yet it's the exact same blade above and below. What is this key then? So this key doesn't have a letter number designation. It's not a KW1, a KW5, KW10. This is called the Quickset Ultramax. No, it's not named after Jim Sullivan's constant recoil machine gun. That was the Ultramax. This was the key that Quickset introduced in 2002 when they tried to bring back the idea of a 6-pin deadbolt. And they weren't going to, play around with the weird ornate Titan things, although the front face of it still looks like it accommodates the key even more deeply than it should. Now, could you make a super bump on this key? Absolutely. It literally is a KW5 in other clothing. It is, in fact, once you cut it down, the exact same thing as a KW11. The shoulder's in the same position, the bow is in the same position. This would be an ideal candidate to use for a template if you're cutting the super bump. You would even be removing a little bit less metal in the process. You wouldn't have to invade this big, thick Titan bump at the front. So maybe you're saying, oh, that's better on my cutter wheels, better on my budget. Yes and no. The Ultramax Blank is a lot less common nowadays. The Ultramax line was released back in 2002. It didn't see loads of use. Believe it or not, when people think high security deadbolt, they don't immediately run out and buy a Quickset product from their local hardware store. These days, in all my supply catalogs, I don't even see the Ilco version of this anymore. I only see the Ultramax key offered as a Quickset OEM key. It's basically $1 a piece. These KW11s, however, are effectively a third of the price. And as you can see, they are not Quickset originals. These are made by JMA. JMA is part of the Altoona Group. They were originally a Spanish company. Now they're manufactured all over the world. There are several third parties who make the Titan-style KW11 Blank. I did for a while consider going with this sword key from Lucky Line. I figured I'd keep the cost as low as possible, though, however, for folk on Red Team tools, since the sword key is like $3.50. But I'll tell you what, you know what? Check back in with me later. If it's feasible, I will have made a Quickset super bump on that Blank. If I could get it to work reliably, screw it. The sword key, that's the giveaway for this video. If I can get you a Quickset super bump key and it works, you know the deal. You got the giveaway list. You know how this works by now. Sign up. If you win, I'm going to give a few of these away. You have to, this is a rule. If you win, you have to send me a video of the sword key working. I will definitely include some of the bump key bands with it. Make this work. Enjoy the Quickset Super Bump. All these notes and details, they're all on my GitHub. Everything's Creative Commons. Do it for yourself. Everyone, thanks so much for listening and having fun. Stay safe out there.